What's up, everyone? Alex Hart here for My Heart Sports. Today, it's the last and sixth segment of our division previews for the 2021 MLB season. We're hitting up the National League West. Just like every other prior video, we're going to start with the bottom based on the Vegas projected win totals, and we're going to work our way up to the top. That will get us started with the Colorado Rockies. Before we jump into it, please go down, give me that like, give me that subscription. Our first goal is to hit 200 subscriptions this year, so if you could just help me out, that'd be great, and I'd really appreciate it. Colorado Rockies are projected 62.5 wins this season, one of the lower ones in the National League, and we can really say why. The Rockies made headlines this offseason, not for what they did on paper or improving their own team, but what they did on making their team worse. There's a lot of issues in the front office and that, and Arenado ended up being traded out to the St. Louis Cardinals. We already talked about that in the Central video, and really they didn't get a whole lot back in return for him. They got Gomber, and they actually had to pay $50 million. So a lot of people are giving them a failure on this trade. Most people would expect when you trade out your star player, you can get something to build your franchise on in the future, but not in this case. They're going to have a long season, and they're going to be tasked with the job of trying to re-sign Trevor Story this year. He's got 1 year left, and based on how Arenado was treated on his way out, I'd be shocked if they don't end up having to trade him anyway, because they're not going to be able to re-sign him. Let's take a look at their lineup here. A lot of the new familiar faces, Tapia, Mick Mahone, part of this team for a number of years. Mick Mahone kind of been all over the place. They haven't been able to settle him into a position, but he's supposed to be kind of trying to fill the shoes of Arenado this season. Trevor Story, of course. Charlie Blackmon, they still have him for a number of years. Can he get back to where he was for form? That's tough. CJ Cron is an addition for their team. And honestly, these next three names, I don't know. I don't really see how they can have what it takes to help this team too much. Looking at their starters here, it's a lot of the same guys, but they did make some additions with the Gomber. We already talked about him. Kyle Freeland looks like he's going to be starting on the DL, some sort of shoulder issue from the spring training. German Marquis, Santazella, both guys that have been solid for them the past number of years, so they're hoping to use them. Rockies are in for a long season, and from everything I'm reading, and I can't really argue with it, the Rockies are in for a long decade. They haven't really got the people coming up through the prospects, and they traded away their star players. They're starting to get that reputation where why would anyone really want to come play here? So that's going to be an issue they have to solve. I personally always loved the Rockies because I like the fact that there's a lot of offense in this stadium, but I don't know how much I'm going to be turning the channel to them this year, that's for sure. Next up, we have the San Francisco Giants, 73.5 wins projected. Again, it's going to be a little tough. We know the two top teams in this division, so for the other three, it's going to be a tough season for them to even have a chance at the playoffs, but we still want to talk about them. The Giants, had they not been in this division, a lot of talk would be about this team because they had a pretty great offseason. For a bad team, they had a good offseason. Unfortunately for them, the two top teams in the Padres and the Dodgers, both excellent teams, but they also had fantastic off seasons. So when you're comparing apples to apples in this case, you got to feel bad for the Giants. Let's take a look at their starters here, and this is where they kind of made a splash. They added a bunch of starters that are like borderline the bottom side of rotations, but they paid minimum dollars, and so they really improved. If you look at Aaron Sanchez, Alex Wood, Anthony DeSclafani, those are all three additions, and they've been solid. They've all had good years in the past. If they can pay the minimum dollars and get the best benefit out of these players, then I think that's a great signing for the Giants, and could help definitely in a pitcher-friendly ballpark like they have in San Francisco. One thing that is kind of worrisome for San Fran is their core from a long time ago with the World Series. It's possibly coming to an end, so they're going to really start to focus on these new guys coming up. Let's take a look at their batting lineup. They brought in Tommy LaStella, who they signed for a couple of years, and he's one of those utility guys that can play everywhere. They still got Mike Yastrzemski, and he's potentially the future of this franchise. But if we also look at the core from the World Series past that's left, Posey, Belt, and Crawford are all potentially in their last season with the San Francisco Giants. Posey does have an owner opt whether they want to keep him or not, And back in the past, you'd be like, no way they wouldn't keep him for next year. But based on how the owners, new ownership and all that coming in and the way the direction of this team's going, it wouldn't be surprised if they just cut Posey out with the contract and make room for their new up-and-coming catcher. With all that being said, the Giants, I think, are at least going to take a step forward. It might not seem like it. Last year, they almost made the playoffs, even though it was extended and all that. And with these two monsters at the top, they're not going to have a chance at the playoffs. But overall, as a team to watch, they might be a lot more exciting than most people would anticipate. So I know I'm going to at least be checking in. I want to see how Yastrzemski does and some of these new pitchers. As an ex-Blue Jay, how Aaron Sanchez fits into this team. I'm excited to at least see that as well. Third up here, we have Arizona Diamondbacks, 75.5 wins. So that's the third team now with a sub 500 projected. Of course, makes sense, right? Not a lot of excitement around this team for me specifically. Zach Gallen, one of the guys I liked watching last year and up and coming and what they traded away for to get with the Miami Marlins. He has a fractured hairline in his throwing arm, so he's not expected to be there right off the bat. Madison Bumgarner, obviously, he tops the order here. Luke Weaver, Caleb Smith, interesting, but I don't know. Bumgarner, has he really been the same since he's come back from his injury? I haven't seen it. He's tail end of his career, so I don't expect the Diamondbacks to really have too much starting pitching power, and it falls off really quick for me. I don't honestly know who Merrill Kelly or Taylor Clark is, so I don't know what to expect from them. Haven't been watching these guys in the preseason. So if you know anything about Diamondbacks, leave a comment below because I'm probably not doing this team justice. Offensive-wise, it's a lot of the same guys. David Peralta, Kento Marte, Eduardo Escobar all making a return back to this lineup. Christian Walker, Rojas, and Kelly Smith. It falls off really quick there. Nick Ahmed, I know, is someone that they expect to take some steps forward, but again, it's going to be a long season for the Arizona Diamondbacks, and I'm sorry, but like of all the teams, I'm having trouble finding something to be excited about with this team. I was doing my research getting ready for this video, and nothing really stand out. So again, if you're a Diamondback fan, I'm sorry. Definitely not giving you guys credit and a good preview here, but leave a comment below. Let me know what I should be talking about with this team because I don't see it right in the middle. And from what I've already seen already, I don't really see why they have the edge over the other two teams. Brings us to the second place team, the Slam Diego Padres. Very active in the offseason. They brought in Yu Darvish. They brought in Snell. Like, these are awesome guys. They signed Tatis Jr. to a huge contract, one of the bigger ones in the MLB history. Looking at their lineup here, it's very similar to last year. Tatis, Machado, Hosmer, Pham, Myers, all making a return here. Grisham, top of the lineup. He was a big part of their team last year, leading off, getting all those stolen bases and stuff like that. As well as bottom of the lineup here, they got Cronenworth. That's one guy I'm not super familiar with, so I'll be looking out for him. But what we got to be honest about is the Slam Diego Padres made some moves. They bolstered that starting pitching rotation, and it's only going to work so much in their favor. This is a very pitcher-friendly ballpark as well. Let's take a look. Yu Darvish, runner-up Cy Young winner. Bring him in. Blake Snell, Cy Young winner. They bring him in. And then Joe Musgrove. So the top three here, they're all new for them. And then they go down to Chris Paddock, who rookie last year, had a great year. So nothing too much to worry about. Lamet, he's slotted in number 5 here right now. He won't be starting with the team right off the bat. But they still have a very strong bullpen. And I remember last year, their bullpen was really the staple of this team. They did struggle at certain points, but it's pretty strong across the board. And I like to highlight it, especially on this team. They got Pomeranz, Mark Melancon, Adrian Morejon. Like, all these guys are definitely big pieces to a bullpen. And should they get to the bullpen, which on days where Darvish, Snell, and all those guys are pitching, they're going to have a lot of low-scoring games. And they're in second. They're projected 93.5 wins, which in any other division would put them at the top. But, however, we all know they're chasing the champions in the LA Dodgers, and let's go talk about them next. Of course, the LA Dodgers, we all know they're the reigning champs. But for them, they want to be the first team to repeat as champions since the 1999 Yankees. It's been almost 2 decades since that happened. On the road to get there, they're going to have to win the division for the 9th season in a row. That's pretty insane to believe that this hardcore division where all these other teams, they've been 9 times in a row and they just finally won the World Series. Interestingly enough, they led the entire MLB last season in runs scored in this pitcher-friendly ballpark. That speaks volumes for this offense. Taking a look here, we all know the staple at the very top, Mookie Betts, just a crusher. And then it goes down, it goes quickly to the same. It's a lot of the same guys, notably Pedersen's not here anymore, but they got Seager, they got Justin Turner, Max Muncy, Will Smith, all the same guys as before. Cody Bellinger, AJ Pollock, Gavin Lux. Will he be able to stay in this lineup this season? All season long, so that's going to be something interesting to watch. But pretty much bringing back the same bats. A couple of the depth players aren't so much on their team anymore, but the core is there for sure, and they're going to be pushing. They want that back-to-back. It's back-to-back or bust for this team. Pitching-wise, they made arguably the biggest signing of the offseason, Trevor Bauer. You could argue with Snell in that with the Padres, but they added Bauer to Kershaw, Buehler, Urias, and for me, their fifth they have is David Price. If they want to move David Price to the bullpen, they very well could. They have Dustin May as capable number 6, so be ready. Like, this team is strong from head to toe, and I wouldn't be surprised if they repeat. It's going to be a hard division fight. It's going to be them and the Padres, and those games are going to be very interesting to watch. Chess matches for sure. And I'm excited. It's going to be the team I'm watching a lot of, being on the West Coast myself, and the late night games, and just love watching runs. We all like watching good teams play, right? So I'm looking forward to that. This division is going to be a fight. Everyone has the Dodgers at the top, but to discount the Padres out, I wouldn't do that, even though win-wise, they're like 10 expected wins behind. Don't count them out. I personally am not. And don't be surprised if the Padres are able to at least dethrone them in this part. The only thing that I would say is of concern if the Padres and everything falls as the way it's expected is the Padres will be in a 1-game playoff come the wild card playoff. So that part I still don't like, and maybe I'll do a whole other video on that on another time. But that basically wraps up the National League West. I really enjoy talking about these teams, and I'm excited for the season to start. Starts in a few days now. Hoping to do a live stream possibly of the first day, so if you're around for that, make sure you check that out. But this is Alex Hart here from iHeart Sports, and thanks for watching. Please give me that like and subscribe if you want to see more baseball content over the next year. Bye for now.